Hello everybody, it's Leora. Welcome back to Diamonds from the Rough. I am doing part 2 of this 1870s settee that I have already deconstructed, as you can see, in part 1. So if you haven't already checked that out, please look on my channel for the first part so you can see where we started. What I wanted to go over with you is what I have on hand, because I'm trying to not buy any more supplies in 2025. I'm probably going to get to 2026 and still not need any supplies. I will throw in here a little video of what I currently have on hand, and you'll see why I'm trying to just use what I already have without going to the store and buying more, because frankly I don't have any more room to put it. So how we're going to redo this and put it back together is I'm not messing with springs. That's something I have definitely never done. I have no idea. So that's going to be my next learning curve. Let's start with this for now. First thing you're going to need is jute webbing. It's very strong. It doesn't have a lot of stretch to it, which is the point, because it's going to be the support that you're sitting on. You don't want it to give a lot. The tighter you have this, the better your seat is going to weather the years, because it's not going to start to sag. To make this as tight as possible, I have this cool little tool, and it looks like something that could really hurt somebody. Those little spikes will go into the webbing, and then you're going to rock this to tighten it, and then you're going to staple it down. I'm not using this again. This is gross. I'm keeping this for the template, and then once I've got it cut, I can throw this one away. That one is a 5-inch foam. This is supposed to match that other one. I hope it does. I have a feeling that once I break this open, it's going to explode. I'm going to pop this open a little bit later and let it be fluffing out while I work on the rest of this. But the back cushions are much thinner. This one is a very low density foam, and I don't really like that. I have some that's similar, but it's a little bit firmer. Once the foam is in place, the next thing that's going to go over it is bonded Dacron. I'm going to use some dust cover material. This is what we'll staple on underneath, and it just kind of makes a nice neat look once you're all done. I also have burlap, so the webbing will go down, and then the burlap will go on top of that, and then my foam will go on top of the burlap. I'm a little scared. I have to unwrap this thing, and I know when my daughter bought a new mattress that came like this, she said she opened it up and it exploded and hit her in the face. It's kind of like a Jack in the Box. Don't laugh at me if I do get smacked in the face by this. I'm gonna keep backing up. Woo! There it goes. Oh wow. It's like a life raft. That is so cool. And it's so clean. I'm going to get onto the fun part, which is the fabric. This is going to lead to the paint. I've grabbed all the blue fabric that I had out of my stash. I want to do kind of like a patchwork. First one is kind of a heavier canvas left over from the first upholstery job I ever did. This is a stretchy faux leather. This one is a crushed velvet to it, and it just catches the light really nice. An ombre. There's teal and navy and silver that just stripes through this one. This one's a stretchy velvet, and I think this is going to be the one, because I have the most of it, that's going to be the main cushion. So everything else is going to build off of this. This kind of Moroccan-y print. And then these two are just, I don't think of the right color family. But like I said, I grabbed all the blue, and then I'm going to work my way out from there. I need to be as methodical as I can with how I'm going to lay out my fabric and make my choices. So I'm going to put all of my pieces together, and then I'm going to see what kind of fabric I have that matches the amount that I would need. Now I have to see what fabric I have that will be the proper quantity for each of them. I already know that this guy is going to be my new pink velvet. So I don't know if I'm just dating myself as much as this pink velvet was dated when I took it off. I wonder if this teal velvet will be the same in, 50, 60, 70 years. But hey, if this thing lives that long, it's still a win, because it got used. I need to decide what's going to go best with this teal and matches the amount of fabric I have. I want to remove this one because there's way too much green in the teal, and I think this one doesn't go at all. So I don't even care if I have enough fabric for this one. I don't want to use it. But when you're starting out the project, you should include everything just in case. This one works really well with the velvet, and this one works pretty well. Pretty sure I like this one. It doesn't match, but it coordinates. But that kind of leaves these two out in the cold, even though they work really well with the teal. I don't really like them because they don't feel like the right period. Obviously, I am not trying to recreate something that would work in the 1800s, but I want it to not feel like summer outdoor furniture, and that's what this feels like to me. So that's out. That just leaves this guy that's kind of on the fence. And you can see the colors pick each other up. I'm just walking you through my process. This kind of bridges the gap to bring in these darker tones. I would have one that has a heavily textured pattern. This one might win just by default because I have so much of it. For these two small panels, I can easily use my smallest amount. I'm gonna put that there. That gives me enough fabric that I have a bit of room on all the edges, and I think that this would make a good back panel piece. I lost my scissors. Where did I put my scissors? How do you lose something when you're sitting still? Found them. Definitely cut yourself more than your template by a good margin, because you're going to need enough fabric to staple around the edges and still have something to trim off. So you don't want to cut it like to the exact size. It's always better to have a little bit more. I want to make sure that whatever I put on the armrest feels nice on your skin, because I'm a very tactile person. I don't want to put this one, because it's not very soft. It's a cotton, and it's kind of a starchy feeling, and I don't love it. I'll have to come back and think on this. In order to figure out how much fabric I'm going to need, I have to take the tufting out and spread the fabric out. I don't know how much extra that's going to give me, but I don't think if I just measured this rectangle that I'd get an accurate representation of how much fabric I need. Now I'm just reaching through the bottom, and I'm going to pull that straight through. Now it looks like they just took that same material and covered these buttons. I have to figure out how to do that. I hope there's a YouTube video. Wow, look at the difference in color. But now I'll have a more accurate depiction of how big of a piece of fabric that I need. One other quick tip, when I took all of the pieces and parts out of the tufted portions, just keep it all together. I'm gonna have to redo some of these little cardboards because a lot of them are still pretty stiff, pretty rigid. Some of them are just flimsy and broken, this was taking a long time, so I just had to turn off the camera and think for a minute. This teal, like I said, is gonna be the main cushion. This kind of lotusy pattern for the two interior tufted back panels. I thought that this velvet would feel the nicest on your arms as an armrest. Then we're gonna come to this stripy, also soft material. And then on the back, we're gonna do the peacocky colors. This part and the teal will be close together, so they will coordinate. This darker blue marries in with the darker blue of the outside back panel, and the teals marry together on the front, and this dark blue pulls out some shades in this one. So that's my color theory going on for this sofa. I will sometimes do something that is so far outside my wheelhouse, it's almost embarrassing to show you, which is sketch or draw. I'm not skilled at that. This is what I'm going to do today. So this is like my schematic, and it gives me an idea of what colors I need to put where, the actual paint colors I dropped on there with the names. This kind of gives me a guideline. And this is going to be embarrassing, so just bear with me. But I'm going to attempt to draw this sofa. Wish me luck. Well, there it is. I'm not great at perspective. You can see there's definitely issues, but this is the skeleton, obviously, without any cushions. I also will need the dimensions when I put this on Etsy, so I just took them now. Bottom cushion is going to be the blue velvet. This really does help my mind kind of coalesce on the idea. I'm going to choose my paint. I was kind of debating on making it black, but then maybe putting some shifting waxes over the top, which would pick up all these different colors. So once I've totally nailed down what paint brand and color I'm going to use, I will put a little splotch of the color and the wax that I'm going to use, so that if I ever wanted to redo this look, I have this guide to go on. I've got a lot of gluing to do. This is my ultimate wood glue that has like 4,000 pounds of strength on it. And then I'm going to clamp once it's on there. Ooh, that was a lot. You can just smear it around with your finger. Some leftover, I will just put it on here as well. I want this thing to stand up for another 100, 200 years. And there goes the paper towels. Now for the moment of truth. I'll line up the holes. Push it down. I'm just going to wipe away anything that's dripping, because if I left it, I would have to sand it off. Next up is clamping. So you just pinch that and it'll get wider. This smaller one will hold the edges down. Bigger clamp. These come in all kinds of sizes. You can get one that's like 3 feet long, maybe even longer. When you're clamping, you should see the glue start to slowly seep out like that. The more you clean up now, the easier it's going to be when this is dry. You can get crazy if you want. You can use like a wet paintbrush or a wet toothbrush, and that will help you really wipe away the excess. While it's wet, you can easily get the glue to dissolve so you don't have balls of it. But if you wait till it's dry, good luck. Now we're on to the part that I hope you'll really like. Sorry, I just reminded myself of Rocky the squirrel. This is the part where I am going to reattach the wood that I've taken off, or broken off, or that was hanging by a thread. This board is a support beam that's going to go in the middle. Rather than using hammer and nails, I'm going to use my brad nailer. This is a Ryobi Airstrike, and it's got just a battery operating cordless feature that I absolutely love. Check and make sure you have enough staples or nails, and also what size they are. I'm probably going to use, for the support, a longer nail. You can keep it all together. It's just like loading a stapler. And of course, make sure the sharp side is pointing out. So once it's loaded up in there, this should slide over it and click. You cannot just pew, 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 and shoot nails. You have to compress this little green button into the wood and then pull the trigger. I freaking love this thing. It was one of the best Christmas presents my husband ever gave me, along with my Surf Prep sander for my birthday when we first got together, and it's one of the reasons I knew he was the one. He gets me. Come on, you can do it. The wood back here is just shredding. It's so old. It's okay, little girl, we're gonna get you good. You talk to your furniture, right? I know what I'm nailing into is much wider than 1.5 inches. That's when you want to make sure your nails aren't going to come up through it. Make sure you don't have your hand behind it, just in case it shoots through. I'm going to add back the little decorative piece. And now for the nails. Now that's not going anywhere, and I don't have to clamp. And you hear all that creaking? I got to do some reinforcement. For filling nail holes, I just want like a really light sort of a wood fill. I'm just going to put a small amount on and then wipe away the excess. Make sure those nail holes are covered. Some wood fill will shrink as it dries. You might have to do it more than once. I want to make sure it's only where I want it, because I have to sand this down later. Here she is in all of her fully reconstructed glory. And all of its bits have been tightened down so that it doesn't creak even half as much as it used to. Now I'm on to the paint. This is my sample stick. I put the paint on and let it dry, and then I put a color of super shifting wax from Tanglewood Sue. I might have to take out the Ursula because it reads very, very purple. But I love the way the Tempest and the Lady of the Lake, how they pick up the light. I'm leaning towards the lighter shade just because it's so much more subtle. And the darker shades, I think it picks up too much of the shimmer. I think we're gonna go with Gray 51. I've got 2 coats of paint on here, and I did this in between the first and second coat, and I'm going to do it again before I put on the wax. I'm going to do a wet sand. Just some water. You can either spritz the paint itself, or you can spritz your sandpaper or your light abrasive pad, and you just get it damp and then gently sand over. I'm not trying to remove anything that other than like the slight texture of the dried paint, and then I wipe back. If I do this in between every layer, it's always going to stay smooth and velvety. You just feel across where you've been, and you'll be able to tell if you missed anything. Now I just do that over the whole thing. Now here's the fun part. These are some of my absolute favorite tools to use. This is Tanglewood Sue's Super Shifters. She's got, I don't know, 40 colors probably, and I have about 30 of them. And they are just the most beautiful, eye-catching, sparkling, gorgeous colors I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to use Lady of the Lake and Tempest. If you're interested, I will link them in the description, assuming I can figure out how to do that. I hear people say that, and it sounds so easy, but it's not. What you want to do with these waxes, because these are oil-based, they have a smell to them. I actually don't mind it, but it's kind of like a gasoline sort of a smell. They're definitely not the water-based stuff that I usually use. So it has to go on last. You don't want to put water-based on top of oil-based. And these will cure on their own. 30 days for wax to cure and actually be hard, but that's going to seal the paint. And since I'm putting it everywhere, I don't have to seal this paint in a water-based top coat, which serves the dual purpose of not putting on a top coat that might cause the wood to leach tannins through the lighter colored paint, because that can happen. Sometimes your paint job won't do it, but then you put on a water-based top coat and the stains start seeping through. I'm not giving that the opportunity to happen. I want to have a separate brush for each of my colors. It should be a semi-firm, preferably a natural bristle versus a synthetic bristle. You do not need much. One of these little tiny jars will give you a big old piece of furniture. So I'm gonna put a little bit on my brush, and then you put it on and then just keep working it out until you can't see it anymore. It was a lot thicker on that little stick because I didn't really get the opportunity to spread it out. But I want this to be very subtle. And on the stick, it looked like it was really all shimmer. This is gonna catch the light is what I want it to do, not be a mirror ball. So little of this is necessary, and it goes so far. But on a black background, it would really make it super, super shiny. Just look at that. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Because natural hair bristle, look for hairs that get deposited because they will cure into it, and then they're much harder to remove. I ended up adding another third color. It's hard to see, but let me get close. A third color, Jester. It's just a slightly more blue-green to bridge the gap between the two colors. But yeah, as the light shifts on this, you can really catch the different shades. When I buff it out, it will get even shinier. The next step, after I've let it dry for a couple hours, is to buff it. This is where the magic happens. I got this from, I think, Ulta. It's like a body brush for in the shower, but it's a natural bristle. When I buff, those natural bristles take down any of the little like loose glittery pieces that might be sticking up and make that shine like metal. What? That's so cool. That's gonna get us to the end of video 2. I wasn't planning on this taking so long, but I want to explain things. I want to go into detail, so it's gonna be 3 videos, hopefully around 20 minutes a piece. I guess the next steps are all gonna be fabric and actual reconstruction. I hope you've learned something from watching these. I'm going to do my best to link the products that I used. I have nothing to do with them. It's not an affiliate link or anything I get paid on. It's just stuff I like to use. Tango with Sue, if you watch, I'm happy to, be sponsored. Shameless plug over. I'm going to sign off. I will see you back here for video number 3 next time. Thank you. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. I appreciate you. See you next time.